Hey, Special2582 coming back at you with another video, and today I'll be reviewing a 118 scale diecast. And of course, when I say 118 scale, I refer to an IndyCar. Well, that's technically a champ car, but this one's actually going to be an IRL car, and it's definitely one that I wasn't expecting to pick up at all. But I found it on eBay. I won this auction. And I gotta say, I won it for a really, I always say this, like a very good price, but this one was definitely a very cool one, and may or may not be the last Red Bull car I might review. So of course I can't show the whole box, it's how big this car is, but this is by Action Racing Collectibles, Eddie Cheever Jr.'s 2003 Indy Racing League 118. Now of course, it's a huge box. I can't even fit it in the entire frame. But yeah, Action Performance used to make Indy cars back then. They did both the IRL and the kart series, and then Champ Car, which I may or may not have more reviews on those soon. Yeah, I'm reviewing more 118s now. Yeah, it's a huge box. I can't even fit it. There you go on the side. Eddie Cheever, number 51 Red Bull. Yeah, Red Bull was in IndyCar at one point. And total production of 1,196 made, of course made in 2003. Here's the other side of the box. See a nice car design, or a photo of Eddie Cheever's car, which actually does have an interesting thing because it says it's an Infinity, but we'll take a look at that soon. A picture of Eddie Cheever himself. And yeah, it's kind of like the normal NASCAR boxes, but it is definitely a lot bigger because of course it's a 118 scale diecast. So let's not waste any more time, and let's try to take the sleeve out of its box here, or take the sleeve off. And as you can tell, it looks like those normal Action 124 boxes, but this one has an IRL logo on there. So of course it's normal, you just pull it up. It's just of course bigger, so I'm going to continue to reference here. And we get a piece of styrofoam, and we actually get a caution label. You'll be able to read that. Of course, it's saying to not get it in water. Of course, you don't want to. But it's kind of strange. Only for the this IRL diecast it had that. Maybe other ones too, but whatever. So this one actually has extra styrofoam. You have to remove this to actually get the removable pieces off of here, which you can kind of see there. I will take these out of here. I think I should cut. So with that, I could just put everything together and we'll just transition on with the diecast on display. Then here we are. Here is the diecast out of its many packagings and everything put together. Yeah, this is an absolutely stunning model I have here that we've got. It's kind of funny just seeing a Red Bull logo and a Red Bull sponsored IndyCar out of all things, because I believe this was, I think this is probably the first time they've ever sponsored an Indy car of some sort, or at the very least like an American open wheel series. And yeah, they had their own team. It was Cheever, Eddie Cheever Racing or something like that. And they had the number 51 and the number 52 Red Bull cars. So this is of course number 51, which is of course Eddie Cheever. He drove this in the 2000, I think he started in 2002 and then 2003, that's where we're going to kind of get into the interesting part about this. Now, of course, it does come on the base, and I will unscrew, and I guess, unfortunately, I have to cut again. But it only has, like, 2 screws on there, and there's, like, a little piece of paper on here, interestingly enough. So, let me cut once again in order to take this car out of its base. And there we go. Now it's out of its plastic base, which, of course, had only 2 screws. And, they were kind of easy, but also kind of hard to take out. But, thankfully, I was able to take it out, no problem. And here is the diecast. Of course, I had to bring out my special gloves because, of course, this is an absolutely beautiful car. And I don't want to leave too many fingerprints on it. But nonetheless, here is the car. I should be able to put the camera down and maybe zoom in when I cut. Now, of course, I have to cut because for some reason these gloves don't like touchscreens at all. But yeah, this is a stunning diecast we have over here. Now, of course, this car ran in the 2003 IRL season, with, of course, the Red Bull sponsorship and a Chevrolet, which we'll get into that, I find that pretty interesting. But yeah, this is a awesome piece here. Of course, Red Bull is more known in being in Formula One nowadays, and now returned to NASCAR for last year. But it's kind of funny that they used to be an IndyCar, and they started with the IRL, of course, during this time 2002, and then I think maybe 2001. But I'm not a huge IRL fanatic. I've been watching a lot more Champ Car, and funny enough, Red Bull actually joined Champ Car in 2007 for their final season, and they made a pretty cool car out of it. I think it was Neil Johnny who drove it, which may or may not be an upcoming video, so just stay tuned. And and of course, and I think that was the last time Red Bull was ever in American Open Wheel series that I could think of. Hopefully they actually do make a return at some point, because they returned to NASCAR, and it wouldn't be as much a surprise if they come back to IndyCar, because of course it's racing. If they could return to NASCAR, they could definitely return to IndyCar. That would be very cool. If Red Bull could be competing with, say, Arrow McLaren in IndyCar, that would be pretty funny. But anyways, this is a stunning car. Of course, this is my first IRL 118 scale car, which I don't really buy because there aren't too many. But thankfully, I won this one in an auction. I'm actually really happy to have it. Of course, it's kind of an oddball one. Because now I'm buying a lot of 118 diecast lately, and I just can't stop. I just can't stop with the addiction, but I gotta stop at some point. But yeah, this is a beautiful, beautiful car we have here. So of course, let's take a look at the finer details on this car, because there actually are some errors on this car which are accurate for 2003, but there's some other stuff that's a little different. So of course, on the front we got Red Bull on the front wings, which is of course on the super speedway or just the oval configuration, because I don't think they ran too many road courses or any at all during this time. Of course, we got Bosch Chevrolet. We got Colorado Clothing number 51. We got Red Bull energy drink, which looks like the design from the cans. We got the American flag, because of course Eddie Cheever is a fellow American. We got Firehawk on the side pods. It's of course running on Firestone Firehawks, which interestingly enough, they actually scuffed the tires on this one, which is very cool. I love that type of detail on there. Makes it look like it just ran a race. Just that added a little detail just makes these things look very cool. Very nice to have. Of course, we got Red Bull on the side. Menards with the little Menards type stripe, which actually goes well with the livery. But in real life, Cheever never ran a stripe like this. It was all plain blue with the Red Bull logos. The only time it ran, it was actually the number 52, and I believe that was Thomas Scheckter, if I recall, and maybe some other drivers. But it never ran like this, number 51 with this design. And of course, we got the Red Bull logo on top. We got the onboard camera with the Indy Racing League logo and silhouette. Chevrolet on the engine cover, which we'll be taking a look at, of course. It has opening features. And get the gearbox on here. It sticks out a lot. That's pretty cool, actually. A lot of detail on that one, too. Nothing on the rear wing except the number 51 on the sides. And yeah, let's take a look at the base here. Make sure I don't drop anything, of course. The base is all blue, painted, all metal. We got the Action 118 scale Dallara and officially licensed Indianapolis Motor Speedway branding. Now, of course, I did mention that this thing has opening features, and it does. So let's take a look at the front first, because I want to talk about that Easter egg last. So of course, we got an opening shock cover on here. If I could open this, that's the thing. I could just grab it from the antenna. I guess that could work. There we go, and we can see the shocks on there. Just amazing detail, and of course the front wheels do turn, and it moves the steering wheel. Very nice. There is no driver figure, unfortunately. I would have liked that, because I like to have mini drivers on the cars, but that's completely fine if it has a lot of detail on there. But yeah, very nice, molded and painted there. Let's place this back on there. It just snaps on, but it just stays there with these like two little pegs here. Just stick in there, and there we go. Doesn't stay snug, but at least it's not loose. And of course, the engine cowling. Now, this is the thing that I find very, very funny about this. Now, of course, I did mention at the kind of beginning that they ran Infinity in 2002, which is true. They ran in the Infinity motor. Yeah, that Infinity manufacturer. They were in IndyCar, which I'll show y'all another thing after this. But then in 2003, they ran the Chevrolet engines, of course. And of course, we see Chevrolet bow ties everywhere. But the funny thing about this is you open up the engine cowling, and what do you see? I think you might know what it is. We got an infinity motor in there, which is very, very funny how we have, it's a Chevrolet branded, but of course we have Infinity supplying the motors on this one. But I don't know if Action, I don't know if, I would imagine this is a universal thing. This can't just be me, right? I would imagine they didn't have the Chevy motors probably, but yeah, that's very hilarious how we have Infinity on here instead of a Chevrolet engine. Just kind of an oddball thing I didn't notice until I got the car. But yeah, passing that, it has a lot of engine detail on here, like molded and painted. Just, oh my goodness, this is like, it's not even a diecast, it's just a model at this point, a model that could roll very nicely. But yeah, painted, molded. We got more of the suspension bits there. Yeah, and the beautiful Infinity Indy engine. I believe it's a V8. Of course, it would be a V8. And then we got the air scoop to bring air into the car, which of course is the roll hoop, I guess, where the air intake, the air box, it'll go in there, and it actually goes in there, so it's actually kind of hollow. Yeah, just beautiful, beautiful detail on here. I honestly wonder how much these actually cost back then to get. If they cost the same as like the one in, I guess we're going to call it a 124 NASCAR Elite. Oh man, that's a great deal, because I feel like this would have cost more at the time. But yeah, it's just it's so nice. It's so cool, you know. I don't like, this probably might be my first and last IRL car, because I'll be honest, there isn't too many that I really want. But this one probably just because of the Red Bull sponsorship, and you don't really see that often. Speaking of which, before I even bought this, just like a while ago, I actually found one in 164. And yes, they actually did release one in 164. I've never showed this off on camera, but yeah, this is a number 51. This is from the 2002 season, which of course has the Infinity branding on here and everywhere. This is also an Eddie Cheever car. This one is a little bit more accurate because sometimes they didn't run the Red Bull logo on the side, but on the top, which is a little interesting. But this one is not made by Action. This was made by Johnny Lightning. It looks like a green light mold, which I think they might have taken their molds after Johnny Lightning lost the licensing. But yeah, Johnny Lightning, one of 3,400 made. Yeah, so I have both the 118 and the 164 on this one, of course. Now that I have the 164 NASCAR, the only thing I need to get is the 164 Formula 1 car, just to get all the Red Bull cars out of here, the trifecta of motorsports, really. But yeah, that's really cool. Now I just have both of its brethrens here, the 164 and the 118. But of course, the 118 is the one we're talking about here, and is an absolutely spectacular looking model here. Just unbelievable amount of detail, you know. I wish they could do IndyCar diecast kind of like this, because I don't know if the new ones by IXO or XO models have opening features, but yeah, this is beautiful. I love this thing. Now I have to figure out how I'm going to put this, because I don't have space. I'll probably have to buy more cases just to display on here. But yeah, that has been the review of the Eddie Cheever Jr. 2003 IRL Red Bull Chevrolet, or is it technically Infinity? I'm not sure. IRL car, the Dallara. So if you enjoyed the video, please give it a like, subscribe. We're trying to reach those 1,000 subscribers. We're getting so close, y'all. I really need to announce what we want to do, or what my plans are for 1,000 subscribers. Something simple, of course, and something hopefully y'all will be able to enjoy. But that's coming soon when I have the time. And I'll see you next time. Peace.